Hi, welcome back to another segment of Aviation Champions. This morning we're hosting Peter Schmidt, COO and co-founder of Transcend Air Corporation. We're so glad to have you, Peter. Thank you so much for joining the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Miranda. Thanks for inviting me.
Fantastic. So tell us about how you got into aviation.
So my dad was an engineer, and he was an aerospace engineer for part of his career. And he took me to an air show when I was 3. And I watched a 2-flight of Wisconsin Air National Guard Delta Daggers climbing out at a very improbable deck angle. And I've been hooked ever since. So I'm a pilot. I'm an aerobatic pilot. Have a career as an entrepreneur, and I got into aviation professionally back in 2010.
Wow, that's really impressive. Aerobatic piloting. Do you fly often?
Not at the moment, sadly. There's this irony that the harder you work on your aviation business, the less time you have to go fly and participate in it.
I can relate to that. So tell us a little bit about Transcend Air Corporation.
So Transcend Air has a vision to revolutionize regional air travel by providing city center to city center mobility. So that's regional air mobility in the current jargon of the time, with vertical takeoff and landing aircraft that are high speed. And because of the high speed and the high demand of operating out of city centers, we project that we can offer flights between, say, Boston and New York for $283 one way, which is less than an Uber to Boston Logan Airport, the Delta shuttle, and an Uber from LaGuardia to Midtown Manhattan. So it's going to be cheaper, faster, and better. And we're very excited about that vision.
Wow, that's impressive. So for the lay person who's maybe not as familiar, would that kind of be like, I don't know, Uber Air? Would you describe it that way?
No, because we'll actually make money.
Okay. Okay, touche.
Uber has a money-losing business model, and attempts to replicate that in the air will only make it worse. We're really going to be a scheduled Part 135 commuter air travel option, a congestion relief valve, if you will, for the air travel congestion around our major cities.
What inspired you to pursue this type of business?
Well, as I said, been a pilot for a long time. And when I had the chance to switch career paths into aviation, I jumped at it. And back in 2010, I came on as a turnaround president and COO of a Part 135 very light jet operator called Linear Air. And there's one of Linear Air's jets right behind me over my shoulder.
Okay.
We had a fleet of 7 Eclipse 500 very light jets when I showed up. And the first question I asked the founder and CEO is, why do we have 7 when we're only flying enough trips to keep 3 full?
Okay.
So the very first thing I did was downsize our fleet to rationalize it. I have a business degree from MIT, so I approached this from the standpoint of, okay, how do we get to a cash positive business model? Now, the very light jet bubble of the mid to late 2000s was predicated on the idea that you could take these very sophisticated aircraft with a high level of automation and fly them single pilot and have these little jets sitting at every airport around the country ready to go and take you wherever you want to fly. It's a very seductive proposal. The problem was it's not true, and it can't be true. And I learned that the hard way over 5 years at Linear Air.
Wow, that's impressive. So what would you say, based on your experience there, made you think that this new business and this new business model is going to be a success? Help us understand that.
That is the key question. And
Okay.
I didn't quit my day job and help co-found Transcend until I had modeled an answer to that. So here's the thing. The population density around reliever airports near major cities. So think, Teterboro or Westchester County Airport north of New York City. The population density around those is 1/40th the population density around major airports. So we actually ran scheduled service using Cirrus SR-22 4-place technologically advanced piston aircraft with whole airframe parachutes. We ran scheduled service between Boston and New York, couldn't fill the seats. So after exhausting every other hypothesis, I came to realize it was simply because there weren't enough passengers who wanted to fly to the same places at the same time to fill the aircraft. And if you can't fill an aircraft, you can't make money with it. It's all about load factor. So the difference with vertical takeoff and landing is that it gives us access to the centers of cities where the highest level of travel demand is. Just by nature, that's where the most people live. It's the highest population density. So I took the model I had been using to run Linear Air and I expanded it into a full-on airline model, projected it out 10 years, and found that at that price point I mentioned, which is cheaper door to door, we could make very good profits. So that's when I quit my day job and we really dug into growing Transcend Air.
Oh, wow. That's so impressive. So are you actually offering services now?
No, unfortunately, we are a mere $500 million away from being able to offer service.
Okay, so you're currently looking for investors or?
Yes, we've been developing the intellectual property behind our high-speed vertical takeoff and landing aircraft for almost 9 years now.
Okay.
And we have won 7 competitive US DoD contracts in that time, which has helped fund our R&D. We've basically been an R&D organization this time. And as we matured the intellectual property and have de-risked the certification of these aircraft, we're getting closer and closer to the point where we can land the kind of investment necessary to go develop and certify for civil aviation our high-speed VTOLs.
Wow. So give me an example of approximately how many passengers you can carry on one of your aircraft.
So the target aircraft would be 8 place, 1 pilot, 7 passengers.
Okay.
It's about 40 feet long and 32 feet across. So it's about the size of a Pilatus, a PC-12. And it will be much faster, however. It'll actually cruise at over 400 knots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that speed is critical because, again, to make money with aircraft, not only do you have to fill the seats every time you move the aircraft, but you have to move the seats often enough to cover all your overhead. There's a lot of overhead in running an airline. So there's 2 ways to do that. You can have bigger aircraft, or you can have smaller aircraft that make more trips per day. And for the city center mobility case, it actually makes more sense to have smaller aircraft doing more trips. So therefore, speed becomes critical. So we've been focused on high-speed vertical takeoff and landing from the beginning. It's an accident of history that we launched Transcend at the same time that a bunch of people got excited about the idea of electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, meaning battery-powered ones, flying just across cities. And I can understand the excitement. If it could work, it would be awesome. I've been telling the industry in detail why it can't work for the past 8 years, which makes me a little bit of a bummer at parties. But if you focus on the wrong thing, you waste a lot of money, and a big chunk of the industry is doing that right now. And they're replaying the mistake that was made with the very light jets of almost 20 years ago. And it's because everybody wants to believe you can walk out your front door, float up into the sky, and land safely at your destination with no hassle. And until we invent cheap anti-gravity, that's not going to happen. As long as you have to push air to fly, then you're going to need basically turbine engines and either runways or high-speed VTOLs in order to have a good economic case.
Okay, fascinating. So based on your business experience and your business background, what would you say to the audience would be like the biggest lesson learned for you?
Demand, demand, demand. You can't make money if you don't have enough potential customers, and you have to contextualize your value proposition with their alternatives. There are a lot of intuitive sounding ideas around air travel that turn out in practice not to be true. For example, one of them is time is money. We tried selling that value proposition and nobody bought it. And I then had to investigate what do people actually do. And what they do is they reorganize their schedule in order to get where they need to go on time and not have to pay extra money. People really won't pay to save time. And then I thought, given my business background, well, why is that? And if you take an intro finance class, you learn that markets are what set prices. And there's no market for your saved time. So there's no price on it. And people, in fact, behave that way. And there's a long and, to me, very interesting list of other learnings that go with that. But fundamentally, it comes down to competing with cars for travel is really hard. Cars are excellent at trips under 150 miles. You really can't compete with them with aviation. You're not going to save significant time, and you're not going to have the weather resistance. You're not going to have the flexibility. You're going to be much more expensive. So that's a key learning.
Wow, that is so impressive. It's been so great to talk to you about this. Tell us in closing, what are your big goals for this year?
So the big goal for this year is to continue our prototyping program and turn that into full-scale prototype flying. That's the big goal for this year. Once we have a full-scale prototype flying, which I expect will be military funded, then we'll be able to show people how awesome this is going to be and attract the support we need to go from beyond the full-scale prototype to get into production. And from production comes certification and being able to launch our airline and offer you a flight on one of the first trips, Miranda.
So if people are interested in learning more about what you're doing and your corporation, where can they find you?
They can find us at transcend.aero. That's transcend.aero. You can tell I have to spell that for people a lot. And also, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So you can look up Peter Schmidt on LinkedIn, and you can get some of my other unfiltered opinions about the state of the industry.
Okay. Peter, it was a pleasure hosting you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We look forward to meeting again.